Yeah, actually, project management and change management are very related, but they're slightly different. You have to have both. So project management is um, doing discovery on the technical, the process. How is this going to change? What is it, it's like getting the train to the train station on time, where change management is getting the people to get on the train, to want to get on the train, to move them into a new direction. So project management is timing and resources and the how to, whereas change management is focused on people. And the I've been to lots of practices in my former job before I worked for Ridge as an EHR on-site trainer, and I've seen it go really well, just fantastic. And I think those are the practices that embrace both sides of that coin. And I've seen it go really poorly
Yes.
because either one side was great, but the other side was lacking, or both sides were lacking. To be quite honest.
Welcome to season two of the Ophthalmology Experience powered by Boost Patients. Today, we're joined by Dottie Anstine, co CEO of Ridge Eyecare. With 17 years in ophthalmology, Dottie is passionate about exceptional patient care and leading through innovation. Before joining Ridge Eyecare, she trained and consulted hundreds of practices nationwide, helping them optimize technology and operations. Dottie, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Uh, so, um, 17 years, did you start in high school? Because very young, or maybe I just feel older.
No, I didn't start in high school. I started when I was 24,
Okay.
or sorry, 23, just out of college, just trying to find a part-time gig, and found out I could be a technician after I found out what a technician was.
Nice. Yeah, that seems to be a lot of our stories in ophthalmology. We're like, well, we weren't really thinking about it, and then yeah, we ended up in it
Yeah.
somehow, and then we just stayed.
Yeah, it's a great industry.
Um,
I can't complain.
yeah. And so, have you always been in? Because Ridge Eye Care, that's in California, right?
Yes, yeah, we're in Northern
Oh, no.
California, north of Sacramento. So no, I actually started. I grew up in Ohio, but then went to college in Indiana, and after college, found a job at my optometrist office.
Okay. And were you always so like you said, you kind of landed in the eye care business. What were you considering before? Like, what was your dream job coming out of college?
Oh, dream job out of college. Oh gosh, that was to work in a marketing company,
Uh,
helping large brands, living in the big city in Manhattan, doing really cool things, and
okay,
that's not how life
didn't
went.
end up that way. Yeah,
No, but
uh,
I'm very happy with how life went.
yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you can bring some of your inner marketing aspirations and dreams to help us figure out how to reach more of our LASIK patients to get them to start coming back
Yeah,
in.
yeah, that's definitely a struggle everywhere.
Yes. Well, thanks for coming on. I wanted to just kind of pick your brain today, and from what I understand, as we said, you've been in ophthalmology for a good number of years now, and you've been
Yeah,
involved with transitions and new EMR rollouts, and
yeah.
you could probably you could probably write a book just on that topic alone. I know that I could. It's just not. I've done it twice in a big scale, and I don't think I'd want to do it again. It's just it's not the system. I always tell people it's
Right.
really the change part that's the hard part. People just don't like to change, and you have to really understand the what is behind people's motivation not to change, and then figure out how to unlock the key so that they open their brains, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when it comes to you know project management and just change management, what are some of the things that are key for you? Because I know it's sometimes it's hard to get our providers or our staff or whatever to go in a certain direction. What are some of the key pillars when you start thinking about this big change that I'm going to make?
Yeah, actually, project management and change management are very related, but they're slightly different. So you have to have both. So project management is um, doing discovery on the technical, the process. How is this going to change? What is it, it's like getting the train to the train station on time. Or change management is getting the people to get on the train, to want to get on the train, to move them into a new direction. So project management is timing and resources and the how to. Whereas change management is focused on people. And the I've been to lots of practices in my former job before I worked for Ridge, as an EHR on-site trainer, and I've seen it go really well,
Mhm.
just fantastic. And I think those are the practices that embrace both sides of that coin. And I've seen it go really poorly
Yes.
because either one side was great, but the other side was lacking, or both sides were lacking, to be quite honest. And so, having that experience in all those different practices of different sizes could be anywhere from a large optometry school with multiple complexities and service lines and things like that, down to a single optometrist trying to move along and learn all this change. I think a lot of people need to understand the differences between the two and embrace both.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah,
and I'm sure that when you first started, you probably had ideas about how to approach each, and I'm guessing that you've tweaked that along the way and you've learned some lessons along the way. Uh,
yeah. I
yeah.
had
What,
definitely had to learn lessons the hard way.
it, that's sometimes how we learn the best, right? Learn some hard
Yeah,
lessons. But so, what are some of the things that in the transitions that went really well that you felt that was a reason why? And then after that, I'm going to ask you what were some of the things that maybe didn't go so well in a transition, and what'd you learn from that?
yeah, absolutely. I'll start with what really went well. I had two practices that I can think of. One practice, I worked with them, and they really understood that from top down. Like the surgeon or the main doctor had to really embrace it. And we had training sessions with him on a very specific cadence. I said, if you really want this to go live and you don't want to, reduce your schedule the first day, then you're going to have to do XYZ. You're going to have to, like, the EHR is going to have to feel like second nature to you. So you're going to have to do lots of hands-on experience. So I gave him a framework of how to practice and get hands-on experience, and he did it. He did it with his scribe and his team, and they would do things, and then we would meet every week or so, and then they would come up with questions. And so over a 3-month period, we did that. Their go live day, they still saw the same amount of patients. I think it was a remarkable amount of patients. I think it was like a 90-day patient day, and they didn't reduce one because the doctor was bought in, the doctor was setting the precedents. Everybody was engaged then and asking good questions and not waiting for that day to be like, oh yes, well, how do I post charges? How do I send the prescription to the pharmacy? So that was a good example. Interesting enough, in the same practice, there was two partners. The one partner side went smooth. The other partner, who didn't participate in training and understanding and didn't really buy into it, he struggled. His side really struggled. They really got backed up. And so I think that understanding how much work is involved in that discovery planning phase and
Mhm.
really committing to it makes a huge difference. And so, thankfully, the other team, they came together as a team. They rallied. They helped each other out. And then they were one of the better practices that I walked away from, knowing like, oh, I think they're going to get it. I think they'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So, I
In
guess,
contrast,
would you
yeah.
say sorry, would you encompass that to say that one of the key reason why that was more successful was the alignment from the physician leadership to say from the beginning, to say, "Yes,
Yes.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna learn the
Yes.
product. I'm gonna make an investment in time,
Yes.
likely there's an investment in time outside of clinic hours to
Right.
really get your hands dirty and really understand." Did I summarize that appropriately, what you said?
Abs Absolutely. The
Okay.
administrator and that physician, and then, all the support staff, the technicians, I think they were pretty much in alignment of like, "Okay, well, Looks like we're gonna have to practice. And I wasn't part of the discovery phase and the planning phase in the beginning as a trainer. But I would assume that they probably had a really good opportunity to explain why they're doing things and
Mhm.
getting everyone on board. Getting that buy-in is a change management component, and it is so important because I've been to other practices. So the less successful practices, I could tell right away walking in as a person off the street, like, oh, not everybody wants this change.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people don't know why they're changing. And so that's the whole change management is getting everyone on board, explaining why, showing them how, showing them path forward, showing like if we do this, this is what the future will look like,
Mhm.
rather than just like do it and then not explain why or where we're going. So yeah, I think that's
Key.
really a good summary. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my experience too, the last time we switched was in 2021,
Mm,
and the providers that are the superstars now are the ones that know how to use it. The ones that and the reason I think it's important to bring up this point and talk a little more is because in ophthalmology, we're very scribe heavy and they're very dependent.
mhm,
That doesn't
mhm.
mean don't know how to navigate your EHR, because the ones that don't know how to
Absolutely.
navigate it are the ones that are usually the biggest detractors, or, "Oh, it's inefficient." I'm like, "Well, do you actually know how to use it?" Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So,
I have seen that
for
as
sure,
well.
for sure. And so now the flip side of it, what are some of the things that you've seen other than not having good alignment or everybody being on board, like, that have made a transition not go so well?
Yeah, I think there can be, not just the human element, but just a lack of, good project management, right? And understanding, okay, what are we spending? Why how long should this take? What are the expectations? What's the scope of this project? And not really boxing it into a good time frame. If you take a project, it can go too long and then you're I've seen practices where they're both. This is way back when EMR was first coming out, but they're like they didn't trust the EHR, so they were charting, half EHR, and they never just kind of made that leap, right, to just
Mhm.
trust it. And then I've seen practices do the opposite. They just want to go so fast, and then it's just a train wreck because they didn't sequence the project to understand what is reasonable. And so I think that not just the change management component, but the good organization, structure, resource allocation part is really important for the project management. Understanding like you have to get the subject matter experts, your SNEs, involved, and so the administrator knows, all the details of the project. So I've definitely seen that happen where communication breaks down and it can just really crumble, and that it causes hard feelings. Like I know a lot of people think we're in business, and you got to keep your feelings professional. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we're all humans, and so if it's going to be a stressful day, it can come out with a lot of high feelings, strong feelings. So I think the goal is to really make sure that you've got that team to dedicate time to planning and executing that project, especially for EHR. If you have smaller projects, you might not need as many resources or as much time, but EHR is everything. It's your entire practice's lifeline. Like it manages all the things.
Right?
Quick break brought to you by Boost Patients. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a physician, a practice admin, or maybe someone on the marketing team, and you really have a singular goal. You want new patients, more consults, higher surgery volume. And oftentimes, when you want that, you think immediately about marketing, spending more on marketing, investing more in marketing. Maybe, but probably not. We've mystery shopped over 600 practices, and there's one commonality with all of them. They're not very effective and not very good at patient follow up. So before you invest more money in marketing and more into that investment, you really need to understand how your practice is following up with new patients. So go to boostpatients.com, fill out the contact us form, and let me know that you want us to mystery shop your practice. We'll mystery shop it. We'll document how your practice follows up with your new patient lanes, and we'll share that information with you. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, I think listening to you talk, I've been on both sides of that, of not having a project like thought process our team together, and then in our second one, learning from that mistake and having a very detailed project plan to make sure everything is lined out the right way. And it's definitely can make a huge difference when you have that. You're prepared to understand how to resources because there's so much planning. Like I think when we did our second EMR planning, we had planned for a 6 month time to go live. And every time we would pull on the thread of one thing, we would find something else. Like, oh, what about that? And so it kind of it crept up, but we didn't want to rush and just say let's give it. I think it took like 9 months for us, and
Yeah.
it was much different because of that. Um, well, quick survey question for you: which
Yeah.
which do you hate more, paper to EMR or EMR to EMR?
Oh gosh, it was definitely paper to EMR.
Okay.
EMR to EMR is, oh man, that's a tough choice. It really depends on how that data conversion goes. Because if your data conversion if from EMR to EMR is
Mhm.
poor, then everything it just compounds all of the problems and headaches that may have been like smoothed over if there was good data conversion. But yeah, I think that paper
You
to
were,
EMR is hard. It's like
yeah,
a whole nother ball game for doctors and staff. It's just like I just circle, I just scribble, and the chart is done.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're close for me too, but for me, I think the worst was EMR to EMR because
yeah,
they already have opinions, where in paper to EMR, they don't know any better, so it's like you're
this is
giving
true.
something, you
This is
know?
so true.
Yeah.
Not just opinions, but bad habits.
Yeah, exactly, or why didn't it's always like a comparison, "Well, I used to be able to do that," and the other I'm like,
Oh
"Well,
yes.
you can, it's just you do it a little differently," so it's trying to retrain the brain, right?
It is you're definitely right. It can be it can be really difficult. Sometimes paper to EMR, people get excited. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can just batch all my claims this way," or something like that. But yeah, EMR to EMR can be difficult if there are because each EMR has like good things and bad things or weaknesses and strengths. And so if you're talking to the department that's like, I love this because this changes my workflow and makes it so much easier.
Right.
And then you're talking to the department that's like, I have to click what now? I have to do like that's so much harder. That is hard to get over. And I think that's the trick of change management is that it's people and sometimes people can be the toughest part of
Yeah,
dealing with a project and change.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so what would you say is one of the larger transitions you've been a part of? Like, how many providers?
Yeah, I think there was one clinic that I worked with that had probably 10 locations and I don't know how many providers. It was an unknown because it was a large
Yeah,
healthcare system
yeah, okay,
in Ohio.
okay.
Um, so pretty big. That one was pretty easy because it was just optical, but
Oh,
optical in of itself has a
yeah,
whole lot of
sure,
complexities. But other than that, some large I think the optometry schools are probably the hardest, and practices connected to a hospital system, because usually I'm dealing with multiple systems. So like the hospital system is talking to the specific ophthalmology EMR. There might be an add-on component for optical, and so there's just a lot of complexity on those particular projects with uh, 20, 30 physicians. It can be very difficult.
right. And kind of the reason I asked you that question is because sometimes, especially I think as you the bigger it is and the more people that are involved, it's hard. You said the human element, and it's hard to get everybody going in the same direction or making wanting to do the same thing or even picking the same system to move to
Right.
can be very challenging. And so when you approach a project and you have multiple options and you have different people saying this would be better, how do you start navigating trying to find alignment so that you're never going to have 100% agreement with everybody, but how
Right.
do you navigate those situations?
I think it starts in the beginning, identifying why are we doing this? What is the purpose? What are we trying to solve? What is the problem? I've seen in a lot of business articles for other industries, they get really and like they fall in love with what the problem is because they really want to understand deep down to the details, to the, in the weeds, what is the problem? And so getting people to understand what it is that we're trying to solve,
Mhm.
and always going back to that is key. And understanding in a larger system, like there may be things that there were no problems for this department, but this department was really struggling, and so understanding and getting that information out in a way will is the best way to really explain it, always going back to what we're trying to do. And then if that doesn't work, trying to go to where are we trying to go in the future? What are we trying to accomplish? And trying to align it to that. That's the best way I can see it happening, and it takes a lot of voices. So if you have an implementation team, it should start with the biggest stakeholders. And sometimes it's not people in management. Sometimes it's just, ooh,
Yeah.
that person has a strong personality, so they're
Sometimes it's
gonna
the
be
yeah, it's the scribe
yeah,
of one of the important docs that you need
yes,
to win them
yes,
over.
yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
knowing your organization well enough to find out who the strong personalities are and early adopters, and then isolating who are the people the opposite. Who are my laggard adopters? Who are the people that I know are not going to want this? And start working with them in the beginning.
Right.
So if you're in the midst of it, that can be hard, but then isolating that person, giving them more time and resources because people fear what they don't know. And so if you try and tell them like,
Mhm.
you're gonna know a lot now after we talk. You're gonna know what's happening over in this department and how that spreads out because each department is connected and there are ripples in each department that happen. And so
Mhm.
making sure people understand that part is a key. Just like you need to make sure you have enough revenue or runway in the bank before you do a big EMR change, you should probably make sure you have enough like cultural equity or cultural runway in your company before making any huge changes. So if you've got some skeletons in the closet or some bad behaviors or bad actors in your team, you might want to solve those first before you tackle a huge project like EMR. Now,
For sure.
not all the projects are huge, so there are smaller projects, and that could help. But I would suggest that before, if you have that luxury. If you don't have that luxury of time, then good luck.
For sure. It's either gonna
Yep,
bring you together or it's gonna tear you apart, right? Uh,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've actually done it to where some of the big detractors, I've made them put them on the training team. Like,
exactly.
you just get
Yeah,
them involved,
yeah,
and
you
and
got
you
it.
and you mentioned stakeholders as well. I think that's also very, very important because, in any situation, you're going to have certain providers that are the ones that are respected the most. There could be owners, they could be, just respected in their field, and they're the ones that voice matters, holds weight. And so I've
Mhm.
been in situations where some of those are not totally on board. And I think you
Yeah,
have to like you said, get in with them soon so that you can get them in the right mindset, saying the right things because the rest are going to follow. So getting those key stakeholders on board early on in the process is definitely key, like you said. Um, and I and I highly because I was when I was in school a few years ago. I went back to school and got an MBA, and I was taking a class with change management. There was literally a game. It was like a video game, and you would pull a lever of the decision you made next. Do I do a company email? Do I do a town hall? Do I do a and then it would like depending on the lever you pull, they would give you like a or a
oh
green.
man.
So there's definitely a thought process behind making sure that you pull your levers in certain order. And for me, that's come over years of experience of knowing what to do in what order and the mistakes that I've made. But I'm sure after you said 8 transitions. Is that how many you've done? How many?
Oh, I've been on site for over 100. I think I
Over a
lost count
hundred?
after that.
Oh my god!
Yes. That
I
was a
can't believe
challenging
that.
5 years.
Yeah, no way.
They weren't all that big though.
Sure,
I
sure.
mean,
But
some were
still,
pretty small and some were pretty easy and some were more difficult at the end, but ASCs, adding that in, that can be a very difficult component as well.
right. Oh, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
God bless you, because that's no way. Um,
I traveled a lot. There was a lot of miles, Ring of Fire
yeah,
miles.
I think the travel is probably the least of your concerns during those transitions. It's
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I would just be dreading it on a plane, like, "Oh god, I've gotta go deal with all these people who don't wanna do this." Um,
Yeah. You have to be a really positive person.
yes. Yes, you have a very calm, seems like nice demeanor, so I'm sure you do very well in those stressful situations. Um,
Yeah,
so I think as mentioned stress, it can be very stressful too for like because it's anytime you do anything new, it can be very stressful for providers and staff and everyone involved. What are some things that you do or you suggest to practices whenever they're going through something that's tough to be able to deal with the stress of the change?
right, right. The change is very stressful. I think one of the ways that I found, at least recently, personally, here at Ridge, is making sure everybody understands their role. Part of that stress can come from like the ambiguity of like, am I supposed to do this? Am I not supposed to do this? Am I responsible for it? And so lately, I've drummed up the RACI matrix, or the way to organize a roles and project.
Mhm.
So it's an acronym, stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. And that can help with the problem that could exist with having too many cooks in the kitchen and not enough chefs. So that has been helpful to alleviate the stress. I think the other thing is to inject some levity. That's what we do here often. Just we take our job seriously, but we laugh while doing it because we want to make it lighthearted, but still have high excellence. Because if you are too serious and too like concerned about everything, that just adds to the pressure, right? And so
For
the
sure.
goal is to definitely. Bring some humor and levity and fun to it, because when people like relax a little bit, the heart rate goes down. I think that's when people can really start to feel comfortable, and that comfort comes then with trust. So if I feel comfortable and safe, then I can tell you, hey, look, this piece doesn't really work out for me because of XYZ, or like I don't know if this person's really going to adopt it. And that's where you get the good information that you can act on. And so I think that's really helpful for us. I think that that stress is just take care of the team, because the team takes care of the project. So making sure you're injecting some appreciation here and there. Appreciation can go a long way for new administrators, people who are maybe haven't done this project before.
Mhm.
If they're like, I've never transitioned a company or a whole company from one platform to the other, then they probably need a lot of support and encouragement and guidance along the way. So that in of itself could really help people move mountains. So it's really staying really connected to the people is really going to help reduce stress, and then give them some time off when they when they need it. So that can really help people reset.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
great suggestions. We've also done, like, a training parties, like, if you have to do it after hours, like, "Okay, you gotta
Oh
train for
yeah.
X amount of time, and then afterwards, it'll be the fun." And then they wanna
Yeah.
come, you know?
That's good. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen people, like, lure people with food, lots of food. "Come
there's food.
come eat at this
Too much
buffet."
food in what we do, all these people coming in with food, it's like you can't especially around the holidays, just, those
Yes.
pounds just start coming on.
Yeah.
So if you look back at all of the change management projects you've been a part of and different transitions, is there any one or couple that like stand out in particular? And you don't have to use anything by name, but just something that you're like, yeah, like that was a really awesome one. And just to get some insight into why, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a practice that I worked with that, I always called them my one percenters, because they had high expectations. So they wanted to go live at all 10 of their locations with optical and EHR and scheduling and billing and like the whole of the EMR, with all the doctors. And they didn't want to they said, we'll slow down the first day, but then the second day it's back up to normal speed. And I basically told them, like, that's impossible unless you do like a lot of hard work right now out the gate. Like, we're only 3 months from that time period that you're telling me. So I outlined exactly what they needed to do, assuming they would back down and be like, oh, well, no, we can't commit to that.
Mhm.
And then they did it. They did it and they committed. So,
That's awesome.
but the goal on that one was that stood out was that usually with EMR transitions, I would just come and meet one person, maybe two people, and that was on their shoulders for the whole practice. Um, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Even though some of them were smaller practices, 2 doctors, 3 doctors, sometimes 15, it's still a small group. This practice that did it in the short amount of time period, they had a whole team of people. They had every department head ready, and every department head had knew was part of the process. They knew what they had to do. I met with each one, and they were all in alignment together. And I think that's why it went really well because it wasn't all on just one person's shoulder. It was like the company is doing this. That means we're all doing this, which takes a lot of discipline to be able to say no to other things. So, I don't know if at that time they were fighting off mergers or acquisitions, or if they were fighting off like, well, we should go do this. I think that can be distracting in itself if you don't give your team time to really focus in and knock it out. Because that focus from all those people really made that happen. But if it was just on the one person and they were trying to get their peers or their subordinates to get on, I don't think it would have gone very well.
Yeah, that's a great example too, because I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
first time I did it, it was me in a conference room with maybe one provider that would come in and give me some comments on how to set up the config the system, maybe one staff member. The difference is this time we had a stakeholder from every department, from the clinical team, the front desk
Yes.
team, the revenue
Yeah.
cycle management team, the reporting and analytics team. Like everybody had representation in a project plan that everyone had deliverables. And then we, in addition, and we created a super user team, which included providers and
Yes.
scribes and techs, and so it was just this big collaboration, and it made it completely different. So thank you for that because it was definitely, I think it highlights exactly the difference between what can be is getting a lot more people involved sooner in the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like you've done it all.
Yeah, I've and funny, I've only been in one practice and it's not as common, but I feel like I've lived an entire lifetime in this one practice and done a lot of different things and learned a lot of lessons in this one practice for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to so that's a lot of great stuff on change management and also project management, and thank you for that clarification because I think probably some people don't do enough to clarify how to prepare for both. So that was great. Thank you. I wanted to shift just a little bit to ask you, just your practice. Like, what are some of the things that you guys are focusing on right now that are initiatives for you either now or in this coming year, just to get an idea of you and your practice?
Yeah. Yeah. We are really taking a look at our patient journey and trying to inject um, more education, really remove barriers for our patients. So, from everything from scheduling to paying their copays to getting reminders, we're really looking at streamlining and efficiencies. So, we've done a lot of that this year already. Next year, we're positioning ourselves to take that to the next level next year.
Mhm.
We've launched a few AI data analytics projects that have been that we're looking forward to. They're incubating right now, so I don't have the final results on those. But we are really shifting our focus to being able to um, take care of that patient experience and really take that to the next level.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of things happening in the just in the world right now. High inflation, lower reimbursement, lots of competition. So I think the idea for us is to take our patient experience to the next level to differentiate us from and keep our patients coming in. I think eye care in general is easy to ignore because there's not there are pain points, but it's not like a broken arm where you're like, I really have this, or a toothache where you're like, I really need to get into eye doctor right now. So we're wanting to make sure that we have that experience and that connection with our patients to keep them coming in, keep them engaged and educated and really informed about all the options. Eye care also has a lot of options, and so we really need to get that information going. We're looking at different ways to streamline all the things from the back end to the front end, again, to increase that our patient experience. So a lot of efficiencies, a lot of AI, a lot of automation going on right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I think there's probably not enough practices put enough importance on really dissecting their patient journeys, and we've been doing the same. And you're I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, you're always going to find gaps in your journey
oh
that you
yeah,
could do better. And how do you differentiate yourself from other practices, and how do you continue to do it more efficiently? As you said, reimbursements are down, and staff only want more money, and doctors only want more money, and it's the
yeah,
balancing act that we have to play, right? So I appreciate
yeah.
it. I think those are awesome. Last question for you is there one thing, if you had to pick one thing that keeps you awake at night, what would that be?
Oh gosh, just one.
Or multiple, either way.
The one thing, the things that keep me up at night, it's always compliance,
Okay.
and risk out there that, the IT risk that exists, just and the decreasing reimbursements. We are a cataract practice, and the cataract code is getting a big hit next year. So
Mhm.
I think just trying to really be creative and strategic about how to rise to these challenges that just keep hitting every year. I think that's what keeps me up at night, and just knowing what could happen. We were victim of Change Healthcare last year, and that was really
Oh,
terrifying and
you'll have Change
difficult.
Healthcare? Oh, man, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
People would
That
ask me, and
we
I'm like, "No, we don't, thank God."
I know.
Yeah.
That was our entire practice on Change Healthcare. Thankfully, our ASC was not on Change Healthcare, but that was very difficult. And so being able to be nimble enough but structured enough to rise to all these challenges that just seem to come at us every year or so is what
Yes.
keeps me up at night.
Okay. Well, hopefully 2026 will be an easier year for all of us, right? We can only hope.
That's all. That's all we can do is hope.
Yeah. It was great to meet you, Dottie, and
Yeah.
I hope you took my comment about your age as a positive and not maybe I was just reflecting my fear of getting older, and you look so much younger than me, so
Oh.
I hope you did.
No, you're fine. I get it. I do get it frequently. So
Yeah.
I promise I didn't start when I was 12.
Awesome. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our listeners for joining us today. If you want to keep up with the podcast and interesting conversations with our guests, don't forget to subscribe and please share it with your friends on social media. Another shout out to Booth Patients for helping produce the podcast. You can learn more about them at their website, boostpatients.com, or you can check out the show notes. Hang in there, ophthalmology gurus. We'll get through this experience together. Have a great week.